it got a lot of views, and because Joe Rogan is really popular, and look at the comments, it has more than 20,000 comments, it has more than 22,000 comments. And just read the effects of caffeine that people experience in their life. Just read this one. I was drinking a ton of caffeine and then started getting a heart arrhythmias. Cardiologist kept saying it wasn't from caffeine. So I finally quit cold turkey and haven't had a recurrence in 7.5 years. I missed it for a long time, but I like living more. A few years ago, when I realized that caffeine is might be not such a good thing. So I was searching on YouTube and I was searching on Google about the effects of caffeine. I came across a video where a bunch of doctors were asked, like, this is a channel called Wired. So they make videos like this where they ask professionals and people who are, in a position to speak about these things, like cardiologists or doctors, or who have done uh, PhD qualified researchers who have done research on topics like this. So there were a couple of doctors, and they were asked about, like, that I believe the title of the video was "The Myths About Coffee," Caffeine Myth Buster, some kind of a video. So they were asked about the effects of caffeine, and in that video, frankly, they didn't talk about anything negative about caffeine. In fact, they said, like, they kind of promoted caffeine in that video. So even in this comment, you will see the cardiologist of this cardiologist kept saying it wasn't from caffeine, but when he quit, and he believes that he's living a better life after quitting. And this kind of comment goes on: quitting coffee, then cigarettes, quitting coffee, then cigarettes, then getting back into the gym and having a normal sleep schedule was the best thing I ever did for myself. See, the comment, like, it's incredible, like the effects that caffeine has. And I keep repeating this thing. I believe that caffeine is the most dangerous substance because we are unaware that, like, we are unaware. See, do you know a person who doesn't drink coffee or doesn't consume, doesn't drink tea or coffee, or doesn't like? So first of all, caffeine is not present in tea or coffee, just tea or coffee. Caffeine is present in tea, coffee. It's present in chocolates. It's present in sodas. It's everywhere. You can go to the supermarket. You can go to the your grocery store, and you will be surrounded by products that has caffeine in it. Everything has caffeine. Not everything, but a lot of things. You get my point. A lot of things has caffeine in it. Caffeine and sugar is surrounded by it. But see, caffeine gets neglected because we don't necessarily think that caffeine is that bad for us. But see, I stopped coffee consumption of about 25 years ago because of a bad period in my life. I suffered from panic and anxiety and panic attacks. Coffee exacerbated my anxiety and activated a panic attack. So I stopped drinking coffee. The coffee withdrawals consisted of headaches 24 hours a day during 10 days. I woke up with headache and went to bed with headaches. During the 10 days, I felt ill, but at day 11, I felt good. No headaches anymore, and caffeine. Stopping caffeine was helpful for me with the anxiety issues. Since then, I like to be awake without needing a coffee. I would never have stopped drinking coffee without the anxiety problem. See, there are, like, the comment section is full of people expressing how much of a grip. So if you read the comments in this post, like in this chain of comments, you will realize how much of a grip caffeine has on our life. And the moment you stop drinking coffee or drinking any tea or coffee, anything like that, you will realize that, see, from my experience, I can tell you, caffeine blocks certain abilities of my consciousness. It's very hard to describe, but I will tell you that caffeine kind of masks a layer on my consciousness. It kind of makes me dumb, but it makes me more productive. So it makes me more efficient. It makes me do things faster, but not in a more intelligent manner. So if I'm being creative, if I try to write something, let's say I'm trying to write something and trying to be creative. So if I drink coffee, it completely uh, damages that creativity that I have naturally that I have. But then again, I will say, like, if I drink a lot of coffee, then the problem really arises, which I will be talking about in a minute. So see, I quit coffee for 3 days. On the third day, see, this comment is really interesting. I quit coffee for 3 days. On the third day, my co-workers brought me a cup and said, "We need you to drink coffee and stop being an." Hmm. See, I'm sure you've experienced this kind of experiences in your life. Like, see, this is crazy. I mean, this just shows that how much of a caffeine dependent society, this modern society we live in, right? It runs on caffeine, guys. Our modern society runs on caffeine. It runs on coffee. It runs on any caffeinated product. You can think of your Red Bull, your Monster energy drinks. What are they? They're just water, caffeine, and sugar. That's it. What is a Red Bull? Red Bull is a personally I've never drank Red Bull because like I whatever caffeine needs I had, I exhausted them with coffee. So see, what is Red Bull? Red Bull is just water. The base is water, and it's full of caffeine. And or any energy drink. What those is just caffeinated water, like caffeinated water. Plus, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of sweeteners or something. I've never personally drank any energy drink. But see, I quit caffeine for 2 hours. What an out of body experience. I mean, see, this just goes to show how much of a caffeine dependent society we are. I quit caffeine for 2 hours. This guy is out of coffee for 2 hours. What an out of body experience. Oh my god. I quit caffeine for 2 days after I cut out all my carbs. I've been going strong for 2 months now, and I feel like I've unlocked some GTA cheat code for life. I feel so much better and my energy is so consistent now. I don't know if I'll ever go back. I actually dream now. That's I can tell you. I had similar experience. If I'm drinking coffee, I'm I don't dream. I don't dream in my sleep anymore because um see, sleep has different stages. Sleep has your REM stage. It has certain stages. If you watch some videos on YouTube about sleep, the cycle has your first is the light sleep, then you enter deep sleep, then you have your REM. I might be wrong, but these are the stages. You have some REM stage where you rapid eye movement stage where you're dreaming. In that stage, you're dreaming. I believe like it deteriorates the see, even like people who drink tea or coffee on a regular basis, they might feel like, yeah, but I don't have any issues with sleep. But see, you might not realize it consciously, but actually, see, it is affecting your sleep, but you just won't realize it. So, I mean, it's worth a shot. You can try experiment with yourself. Try not to drink coffee. I actually dream now. I used to dream maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Now I dream almost every night. See, this is incredible. This is incredible amount of information. Uh, Quitting caffeine, 6 cups coffee per day was the best thing I ever did for my sleep quality and daily physical energy. I also learned that a big chunk of what I thought was I also learned that what I thought was anxiety was my body simply being overloaded by caffeine. It's a very powerful drug. Now see, that's the thing. If you suffer from anxiety, if you just question yourself, I bet that you drink coffee. But like, see, if you drink coffee and you suffer from anxiety, just quit caffeine, any forms of. Now that is the problem with caffeine. The problem with caffeine is the moment you stop drinking coffee, your mind will tell you, I haven't had chocolates in a long time. Your mind is very deceptive. Will tell you, I didn't have chocolates in a long time, so why not have some chocolates, or maybe some hot chocolate, or maybe I didn't have a bar of chocolate in a long time. You'll be surprised. You'll be quitting coffee, but you'll be switching over to chocolates, which is also loaded with caffeine. Even though I feel like the anxiety that hot coffee especially gives you is like that's the most extreme form of caffeine. But still, like, you have to figure out some way to cut out caffeine. Now I'll tell you what I did. Like, I also, like, I also use caffeine. I drink coffee, but and which is why I feel the need to make this video, because I have I suffer from caffeine related anxiety and sleep issues. I suffer from insomnia. I suffer from sleep issues. I suffer from anxiety. I suffer from depression. Now, caffeine helps with depression. That is, honestly, I'll tell you that's true. Caffeine does help with if you're suffering from depression, and if you drink coffee, it does help. But then you have to deal with the anxiety that comes with caffeine. Now, quitting caffeine 6 days, 6 cups coffee per day. I also learned that a big chunk of what I thought was anxiety. Yeah, I had to experience caffeine withdrawal. So I had to experience caffeine withdrawal involuntary about 10 years ago because I was incarcerated. It was about 4 to 5 weeks until I could afford to buy coffee through our commissionary. Okay, my first cup was exactly as he said. I felt as high as a kite. Wanted to go for a run 5 miles while writing a book at the same time. Crazy how powerful it is. But see, the thing with caffeine is caffeine. Yes, if you stop drinking or consuming any kind of caffeine, and let's say after a month you have, or even after a week, you have a cup of coffee, right? You'll be surprised to know that that cup will give you like so much. You'll feel like you're high, but that high is like, so if you have ever tried marijuana, that high, so high from different drugs is different, right? So caffeine, the high is very it's not, it doesn't feel like a good high. Like it feels more like, even though I have never tried any kind of illegal and illicit drugs and hard drugs like methamphetamine or any kind of cocaine or something, but the way I get described about cocaine. So I watched Breaking Bad, right? In Breaking Bad, and from cultural stuff like Breaking Bad and on all over internet, and from people's experiences, the way they, like if I watch some documentary about a cocaine addict or a heroin addict, the way, even though heroin and cocaine I feel is different, but the way like cocaine addicts, like like Tuco Salamanca in Breaking Bad, right? That guy is a methamphetamine addict and probably a cocaine addict, something, right? So the way I feel like caffeine is that kind of an addiction. It gives you that high, like a kick. That's why people say like, I get a kick out of coffee. What is that? That's like a mild form of methamphetamine. So I feel that from my speculation and from my understanding, I feel that. But it's not like, so marijuana also makes you high, right? But marijuana kind of like it I would say like marijuana expands your consciousness, but caffeine kind of restricts your consciousness. If you have any understanding of consciousness and what it feels like, different stages of consciousness, well, like when you meditate, let's say you meditate for an hour and you get that meditation high, right? You're high from meditation. That high is more similar to the marijuana high. It's more comparable. But caffeine is like, it kind of limits your consciousness. It makes you even less conscious, but more faster. Excuse me. It makes you less conscious, but faster. Like that is the best way I could describe it. Like it makes that I keep saying like caffeine, the high from caffeine is kind of like you turn into that lizard ancestral prehistoric, pre-evolutionary kind of mindset, the lizard brain that you have, right? Which is always looking for food and sex. Caffeine kind of exacerbates, what's that word? Like caffeine kind of exaggerates that kind of mindset, that lizard brain, which is always looking for food and sex, and and caffeine also turns you into a hedonist. Now these are my experiences, but yours might be different. But I feel like I could, like, this is true for like at least some people. I don't know. So like the post is filled with comments like this. That, see, this comment is also quite interesting. Now that I am realizing everyone was on drugs or alcohol since the 1800s, it makes sense that this world is the way it is. Absolutely true, guys. I told you in my previous video that I made about caffeine, I mentioned that I feel that if people stop drinking coffee, wars will stop. Wars will end world war, whatever, any kind of wars will end, guys. See, caffeine makes you angry, it makes you hyper, it makes you energetic. And humans, when they have no purpose in their life, what are they gonna do with that energy? Do you think they're gonna engage in wars? If they have any kind of purpose, if they have any kind of meaningful, productive way to use that energy, then they will probably build SpaceX. They will probably become Elon Musk or Joe Rogan. But most people are not Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, right? Most people are just your average Joe. Most people are just people. They don't have any purpose in their life. So when you have a population of humans with no purpose, and they feel like they are drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes all the time, what do you think those people will become? They will become warmongers, they will become genocide supporters, they will become, because caffeine kind of also makes you less human. It reduces the humanity, the humanity, the sense of ethics, the sense of right and wrong that you have, right? This, your sense of conscience, what is this is right, this is wrong. Caffeine kind of brings that down. I can 100% say this. Caffeine brings that down. So the more coffee you drink, the less of a human you become. That's why people who drink a lot of caffeine, they're socially separated. They don't know how to interact with other people. They're the, that kind of weird coffee drinking guy, right? Like a socially awkward coffee drinker. You become that if you drink a lot of coffee. Now, see, now I can go on and on. Like this the comment section is full. There you saw there are 22,000 comments. But the point is that I just wanted to make this video to raise awareness about how significant and impactful coffee and caffeine basically is on our society, because everyone is consuming it and nobody knows, like nobody thinks of it as a drug. My problem with caffeine is just that nobody considers. Why do you think a bottle of Nescafe is sold on the grocery store, but if you want to buy a bottle of beer, you have to go to an alcohol shop? At least in India, that's the case. I know that in America, you can buy a bottle of beer in Walmart. I get that. But generally, my point is that if you want to buy liquor, you have to go to a liquor shop. But why is it that if you want to buy caffeine, you can go to your nearest grocery store and buy a bottle of Nescafe? Or these days, like, people, because companies know that caffeine, like companies that manufacture caffeine, instant coffee, right? They know that this is a drug. So these days you will see stronger forms of caffeine being sold. There are so many caffeines that are sold in the market out, which are labeled as intense coffee, extra strong coffee. What do you mean that extra strong is? That's a drug, right? That's why they're labeling it as extra strong. What do you mean extra strong? Is that food? Caffeine is not food. It doesn't give you any energy. It's a drug. It has 0 calories, but it gives you energy. Why? Because it's a drug. That is what it is. That is how a drug functions. Now, my solution, I'll give you a quick solution. Now, this might work for you or not. But listen, hear me out. Like, this is my solution right now to the caffeine problem, because I also drink coffee. Okay. Recently, I tried to do cold turkey for like the millionth time. I tried to quit coffee and went cold turkey. I was strong and it's winter right now. So it's even in the winter months, it's even difficult to quit coffee, because, like coffee it heats up your body, and it makes you less it makes you less chilly and stuff, right? So it helps in the winter months. See, my solution to coffee right now is because I tried to quit cold turkey method on coffee. I stopped drinking any kind of caffeine. I stopped consuming. So I was fine for 3 days. I even forgot that I am a caffeine user. I stopped drinking coffee for 3 days, and coffee and no other. I didn't like switch it with any green tea or something which also has caffeine in it. I went cold turkey on caffeine completely for 3 days. 3 days I had no problem. I was sleeping better. My sleep was improved. My consciousness, everything. I have psoriasis, which is a skin condition. The flares of my psoriasis reduced. So if you have psoriasis and if you consume a lot of caffeine, that the flares, it becomes, the chunks of psoriasis becomes bigger. The flares increase, and you feel that itchy sensation. You want to scratch on the psoriasis chunks even more. So that improved everything. Basically everything improved. My skin became less dry, and I was releasing natural moisture. And my skin oils, I have oily skin, but I have some of your skin oil are it is healthy for you. So I had like healthy secretion of skin oil from my face and my body. And I was sleeping better. I was anyways, everything was improved. But on the third night, I felt like, I think 72 hours had passed, and I suddenly felt like I was unable to digest my food. After my dinner, I was like feeling like this stomach ache. It was not exactly some stomach ache, but I felt like vomiting because my stomach was not able to digest the food that I had for dinner. After third night, after 72 hours, I was feeling feverish. I was having fever. I was literally lying on my bed, and like I was like shivering. And I realized, and I had a massive headache. The worst. Like, it was pretty bad. It was probably not the worst headache, but it was pretty bad. It was getting worse. My headache was becoming really bad, and I realized that I have to drink some coffee. Either I have to have some pain medications, which also has caffeine in it. That is how it works. Pain medications have caffeine. Uh, Either I can take a pain medication, or I can just drink maybe a little bit of coffee. So what I thought, like, why not just make a small cup? I like it's like this kind of a cup with like maybe it's like 20 ml of like I put some water. I heated a water, so, the cup with water, and I made some black coffee basically, and I made it, tried to keep it mild, because in my head I thought like my idea is to not go back on coffee, but I'll just use this much so that I can get a relief from my headache. So granted, I got a relief from my headache. It was probably 1 o'clock at night. I was making a cup of coffee, and I relieved from my headache. And then I just went back to, like, I tried to go back to sleep because I was slowly realizing, yes, my headache was getting relieved, but I couldn't sleep that night. Now, because I am extremely sensitive to caffeine. Even if I have a little bit of caffeine during the day, that will hamper the quality of my sleep at night. So I'm extremely sensitive to caffeine. I know that most people are not that sensitive, but see, like I can only share my experience, right? So I went to bed. I didn't sleep that night. I just was scrolling Instagram, Twitter, and everything, social media, and I was like, yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, I try to do it. Now my solution is very simple. Now on, I am just, because that is what even you will hear on the internet. The most people, that is what they will give you, this advice: caffeine moderation. I feel like now, like, so today I had coffee. I had only this very little milk coffee. I like milk coffee. I don't actually like black coffee. But I know most coffee enthusiasts like black coffee. But I took a little bit of milk coffee, like half a cup of a milk coffee, and I made that cup, and I consumed that much, because in my head I know that if I stop completely drinking coffee, then I will again suffer from a severe headache. So I don't want that. So I made some caffeine rules, which are very simple. First rule is, I am not going to drink coffee after daytime. So let's say after 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, I will not consume any caffeine. Every caffeine need that I need to fulfill, I have to do before that. And I would probably just stick to that little bit of caffeine that I want, because my idea now is I don't want I don't want to be dependent on caffeine for my productivity needs, but rather I'm trying to quit caffeine. And the process of quitting caffeine, I believe the best way to do is because you are going to get that headache. If you go quitting cold turkey, you're going to get that really bad headache. So to avoid that headache, the best thing you can do is like just have a little bit of coffee during the day so that you can fall asleep at night. But then again, you're extremely sensitive to caffeine like me. You will have a tough time. Even after having a little bit of coffee, you'll have a tough time falling asleep. But we have to try something, right? And I feel like I don't think you have to necessarily completely quit coffee, because coffee helps. Like it is both good and a bad drug. I feel like, so yeah, you should not be definitely dependent on it, because if you get dependent, which, like, like people in New York, for example, people in New York or LA, or they drink so much coffee. They drink a lot of coffee. Every New Yorker knows this. They drink so much coffee in New York, or any city or place where, see, productivity doesn't exist without coffee. People, productivity, development, that kind of stuff doesn't happen without coffee. Your boss wants you to drink so much coffee. Your boss wants you to probably choke on coffee, because otherwise, how are you going to be a productive employee? How are they going to exploit you for building that empire, that large giant corporate that they're trying to build? How are they going to do that without exploiting their employees, and without making their employees caffeine addict? How are they going to do that? So caffeine is a way to extract a lot of productivity out of you. And um like, all I can say is, like, if you care about your mental health, just stick to little bit of coffee. And in your mind, it should always be the goal. The ultimate goal should always be, like, you should not consume caffeine at all. But all I'm saying is, caffeine is the grip of caffeine is so powerful that all, at least right now, what all I can do is, like, I can focus on moderation. That way I can, like, at least keep it on a moderate level, the consumption level to a moderate, and not get all those anxiety and the issues that I talked about from caffeine. Thank you.